Today we'll discuss about congenital club foot. Congenital club foot is one of the most common congenital deformities of the lower extremity. The incidence has been reported to be 1 to 2 cases per 1000 live births. Congenital club foot is also twice as common in male patients. Etiology. The etiology of idiopathic club foot is not well understood. Non-idiopathic club foot is usually the result of neurological or syndromic etiology. Between 6 and 12 weeks of gestational age, the fetal foot assumes club foot position. A genetic etiology is suggested by the evidence of higher occurrence of club foot in monozygotic twins. Besides genetic etiology, early amniocentesis has been shown to increase the rate of clubfoot, suggesting the influence of perinatal factors on the development of this deformity. Pathological anatomy. The major clubfoot deformities include hindfoot varus, equinus in addition to forefoot adductus and cavus. These deformities are the result of intraosseous abnormalities, that is abnormal bone morphology, and interosseous abnormalities, that is abnormal relationship of bones to each other. The intraosseous deformity is more pronounced in the talus with a short talar neck and a medial and a plantar deviation of the anterior end. On the inferior surface of the talus, the medial and anterior fascias are underdeveloped. The calcaneus is smaller than in normal feet and the sternum is underdeveloped. Intraosseous deformity is seen as a medial displacement of the navicle on the talar head, cuboid on the calcaneum. Contractures and fibrosis of the ligaments on the medial side of the foot, including spree ligament, master of Henry, tibio-navicular ligament, plantar fascia, also contribute to the clubfoot deformity. Abnormal muscles have been observed during the operative release of clubfoot deformity. Study of the blood supply has shown abnormal or absent anterior tibial artery in as many as 90% of the club fit. Coming to the treatment, during the 20th century, the treatment of club foot evolved along with much of the orthopedics, from non-operative to more sophisticated operations based upon improved understanding of pathoanatomy. However, studies such as 30-year follow-up by Dobbs showed that function suffered with the multiple surgical interventions for clubfoot. Patients with the most extensive soft tissue releases had a greater impairments. This study was published in Journal of Bone and Joint Surgery in 2006. In the study, they say many patients with a club foot treated with extensive soft tissue release have a poor long-term foot function. They found a correlation between the extent of soft tissue release and a degree of functional impairment. Repeated soft tissue releases can result in stiff, painful, arthritic foot and significantly impaired quality of life. Coming to the diagnosis. The diagnosis of club foot can be made prenatally as early as the second trimester. Diagnosis is usually evident at birth and it is a clinical diagnosis. In a patient with unilateral involvement, the circumference of the calf on the inward side is smaller than the normal side. Club foot can be seen in isolation or as a part of other musculoskeletal abnormalities, including but not limited to Down syndrome, Larsen syndrome, arthrogryposis, spina bifida, amniotic band syndrome. A complete musculoskeletal examination is required to differentiate among these non-idiopathic forms of club foot, which are usually more resistant to non-operative treatment. Nowadays, non-operative treatment is the almost always the initial method of treatment for congenital club foot, followed by Achilles tenotomy if required. The Ponseti method is the most commonly used non-operative treatment worldwide for the treatment. Ponseti method. This method is based on gradual correction of the deformity with a serial weekly long leg casting. The deformities are corrected in the order of the CAVE, acronym. CAVE. C for cavus, A for adductus, V for varus, E for equinus. In this order only we have to correct the deformity. Cavus is corrected first by elevating the first metatarsal, and adductus deformity is corrected by rotating the forefoot and calcaneus under fixed talus. This is done by applying upward pressure on the first metatarsal to prevent forefoot pronation and downward pressure on the talar head. This maneuver around the fixed talar head corrects the hindfoot varus and forefoot adductus simultaneously and prevents crushing of the cuboid. Equinus is the last deformity to be corrected. Correction of the equinus should not be attempted until forefoot adduction is corrected, and the forefoot can be abducted easily to 60 degree relative to the anterior aspect of the ankle. Then only you have to correct the equinus. Equinus is the hardest deformity to correct with a casting, and in most cases is treated with a percutaneous Achilles tenotomy in a OPD basis. Comprehensive soft tissue release. Comprehensive soft tissue release is the mainstay of the operative treatment of club foot. Operative release is still indicated when non-operative treatment fails to correct the deformity or when the deformity recurs after successful initial treatment. Operative correction is usually performed between 9 and 12 months of age for patients who had a failure of non-operative treatment. The surgery involves circumferential release of the subtalar joint, posterior capsule of the ankle joint with the lengthening of the Achilles tendon. Flexor tendons, posterior tibial tendons are lengthened. Preserving the interosseous ligament and deep deltoid ligament is important. Otherwise, you will overcorrect the deformity. Loss of initial correction, triceps furrae insufficiency, and overcorrection are well-known complications of soft tissue release. A prospective study by Halansky showed that patients treated by a Ponseti method required fewer surgeries. The current century has seen the more conservative Ponseti method sweep the world, along with the improved understanding of how to make it work in most situations. Then, who requires the percutaneous Achilles tenotomy in an idiopathic club foot? It is the lateral tibiocalcaneal angle determines the requirement for the tenotomy. There was a study published in JBJS August 2015. Most infants requiring tenotomy had a stress lateral tibiocalcaneal angle of more than 80 degrees. Patients with unfavorable lateral tibiocalcaneal angle had a high chance of sagittal relapse if percutaneous Achilles tenotomy had not been performed, even when they had a favorable ADF angle of more than 15 degrees. The lateral tibiocalcaneal angle measured on a simple radiograph is more objective and prognostic indicator of the need for percutaneous tenotomy. Night bracing and walking. Adherence to the night bracing after casting increases the success rate of the Ponseti method, and brace wear of more than 8 hours per day yields the highest success rate. Children treated by Ponseti method walk an average of 2 months later than the peers without club foot. Greater delay may be expected for those patients who have a very severe deformity or those who experience a deformity relapse. Coming to the time of starting treatment and follow up the patients. Although treatment soon after birth is usually advised, you have to start at the earliest. Older children of walking age may be successfully treated with the Ponseti method. Clinical examination is advocated to monitor the progress of children being treated. Radiographs are not required in the follow-up visits if the clinically foot is normal. Recurrence after infancy. For children who experience recurrence after infancy, a 40-year follow-up study demonstrated that it is still possible to achieve a treatment success with the Ponseti principles of avoiding articular surgery. Repeat casting and or Transfer of the anterior tibialis tendon to the midfoot have an excellent long-term success rate. Gait after Ponseti treatment. Gait after Ponseti treatment is still not quite normal, with a slightly decreased hand-foot motion and ankle power, along with a slight internal foot orientation, compensated for by external hip rotation. Gait analysis showed significantly decreased range of motion, plantar flexion, and power of the ankle compared with the controllers. Slight in-toeing occurred in 24% of the patients, and 12% did not achieve a neutral position during swing phase. Slight compensation was observed, including external rotation of the hip in 28%. This study was published in JBJS 2014. Reconstructive surgery for overcorrected club foot in adults. Patients who have a open articular release surgery often develop a overcorrection, hand-foot valgus, and lateral impingement, which may be improved in adulthood by valgus dorsiflexion osteotomy of the supramalleolar area. Ilizarov technique in clubfoot. The Ilizarov technique is used almost exclusively for the treatment of neglected or late recurring clubfoot because of the prolonged treatment time and the physical and psychological stresses associated with this method. Soft tissue surgery with or without osseous procedures is usually performed before application of Ilizarov frame or shortly after initial correction. Conclusion. Congenital club foot is a common anomaly that involves all of the tissues distal to the knee joint. The initial treatment should always be non-operative, and that to good to excellent long-term outcomes can be expected after non-operative treatment despite a slight amount of residual deformity. Comprehensive release may be associated with good short-term outcomes during the teenage years, but may result in a painful stiff fit in adulthood.